The arrival. The day the sky fell, humanity learned it was not alone. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the ISS Defender, Earth's first true interstellar vessel, as alarms blared and screens flickered with incoming data. Her dark eyes, usually calm and analytical, now widened with a mixture of awe and terror. "Report," she barked, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around her. Lieutenant Rodriguez, the ship's sensor officer, spoke up, his fingers flying over holographic displays. "Massive energy signatures detected, Commander. Multiple objects emerging from... well, it looks like they're tearing holes in space itself." Chen's mind raced. Humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel barely a decade ago, and they were still fumbling with the technology. Whatever was coming through those spatial rifts was leagues beyond their capabilities. "Put it on screen," she ordered, bracing herself for what she was about to witness. The main view screen flickered to life, and collective gasps echoed across the bridge. Emerging from swirling vortexes of purple and black energy were ships, but to call them merely ships felt like an insult to their grandeur. They were floating cities, each one easily the size of a small moon. Their hulls gleamed with an otherworldly metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "My God," whispered Dr. Elara Voss, the ship's xenobiologist. "We're not alone." Chen allowed herself a moment, just a heartbeat, to feel the weight of that revelation. Humanity had long debated the existence of alien life. Now that debate was settled in the most dramatic way possible. "Open a channel," Chen said, straightening her uniform. "All frequencies." "Channel open, Commander," came the reply from communications. Chen took a deep breath. The next words out of her mouth would be humanity's first contact with an alien species. No pressure. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel ISS Defender. We come in peace and welcome you to our solar system. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." Silence stretched across the bridge as they waited for a response. Seconds ticked by, feeling like hours. Suddenly, the view screen crackled with static. An image formed, a being that defied easy description. It had a vaguely humanoid shape, but that's where the similarities ended. Its skin was a shifting pattern of bioluminescent colors, and where a human would have a face, this being had a cluster of sensory organs that pulsed with an inner light. When it spoke, the universal translators built into the ship's systems struggled to keep up. "We are the Zorthian Empire," the alien intoned, its voice a dissonant chorus that sent shivers down Chen's spine. "Your world now belongs to us. Resistance is inadvisable." Chen's military training kicked in, overriding the shock. "I'm afraid that's not acceptable," she replied, her voice firm. "Earth is a sovereign planet. We're open to peaceful dialogue, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." The alien's sensory cluster pulsed faster, a reaction Chen couldn't interpret. Was it amusement? Anger? "You misunderstand, Primitive One," the Zorthian said. "This is not a negotiation. It is a statement of fact. Your defenses are nothing to us. Your technology is laughably obsolete. You will submit, or you will be eradicated." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Chen's mind raced through options, each one bleaker than the last. The Defender was Earth's most advanced ship, but against these moon-sized behemoths, it might as well have been made of paper. "Battle stations," she ordered, her voice cutting through the silence. "And get me a direct line to Earth Command. They need to know what we're up against." As her crew sprang into action, Chen allowed herself one last look at the alien armada. It was vast beyond comprehension, stretching as far as the eye could see. Earth's first contact with alien life had just become a fight for survival. Across the solar system, from the bustling megalopolises of Earth to the fledgling colonies on Mars and Europa, alarms began to sound. The threat that humanity had both dreaded and secretly longed for had arrived. On Earth, in the underground bunker of Global Defense Headquarters, General Marcus Thorne received Commander Chen's transmission. His weathered face, scarred from countless battles in humanity's own petty wars, grew grim as he listened. "Patch me through to the UN Security Council," he growled to his aide, "and get me every head of state on the line. It's time to put aside our differences. We're all Earthlings now." As the politicians and military leaders of Earth scrambled to formulate a response, the Zorthian fleet began to move. With a grace that belied their massive size, the alien ships took up positions around Earth's major population centers. In New York, Tokyo, Lagos, and 100 other cities, people poured into the streets, their eyes turned skyward. The Zorthian ships loomed overhead, blocking out the sun and casting the world into an artificial twilight. Panic began to spread like wildfire. But amidst the chaos, pockets of human resilience began to emerge. In a garage in suburban America, a group of amateur radio enthusiasts worked feverishly to establish a global communication network independent of satellites. In a university lab in Beijing, scientists who had been working on experimental shield technology redoubled their efforts. Back on the ISS Defender, Commander Chen made a decision. They couldn't match the Zorthians in firepower, but perhaps they could buy Earth some time. "Helm, set a course directly for the lead ship," she ordered. "Divert all power to shields and engines." Her crew looked at her with a mixture of fear and determination. They all knew this might be a one-way trip. "If this is humanity's last stand," Chen said, her voice steady, "let's make it one for the history books." The Defender's engines flared to life, a defiant spark against the vastness of space and the overwhelming might of the Zorthian fleet. As they accelerated towards what seemed like certain doom, Chen couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Humanity might be outgunned and outmatched, but they would not go quietly into the night. The Zorthians were about to learn that sometimes the cornered prey is the most dangerous. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The fall. The ISS Defender streaked across space, a lone David charging towards a sea of Goliaths. Commander Sarah Chen's hands gripped her chair as the ship shuddered under the strain of maximum acceleration. "Impact in 30 seconds, Lieutenant Rodriguez called out, his voice tight with tension. Chen nodded, her eyes fixed on the looming bulk of the Zorthian flagship. "All hands, brace for impact. It's been an honor serving with you all." The Defender slammed into the alien vessel's shields with the force of a miniature sun. For a brief, glorious moment, it seemed as if the human ship might break through. The Zorthian shields flickered, ripples of energy cascading across their surface. But it wasn't enough. The Defender bounced off, its hull breached in a dozen places, atmosphere venting into the void. As the crippled ship tumbled away, Chen saw other Zorthian vessels moving to intercept. "Send the data package," she ordered, coughing as smoke filled the bridge. "Make sure Earth gets everything we've learned." As the Defender systems failed one by one, a tight beam transmission shot towards Earth, carrying sensor readings, shield frequencies, and a message of defiance. On Earth, the data from the Defender's sacrifice was received with mixed emotions. Hope that they now had vital intelligence on their enemy. Despair at the loss of their most advanced ship and its brave crew. General Thorne, his face illuminated by the glow of tactical displays, absorbed the information with a grim determination. "Get this to our science teams immediately," he barked. "If there's a weakness in their defenses, we'll find it." But time was running out. The Zorthian ultimatum echoed across every communication channel on the planet: submit or be eradicated. Humanity's response was as diverse as its people. Some nations launched everything they had: nuclear missiles, kinetic strike platforms, even experimental energy weapons. Others tried diplomacy, broadcasting messages of peace and cooperation. A few, overcome by fear, announced their surrender. None of it mattered. The Zorthian ships shrugged off Earth's mightiest weapons like raindrops. Their return fire was devastating. Washington, D.C., Moscow, Beijing, capitals fell in fiery cataclysms visible from orbit. In the chaos of those first hours, billions perished. The lucky ones were vaporized instantly. The rest faced a world plunged into nuclear winter, infrastructure shattered, governments in disarray. Yet, even in the face of annihilation, pockets of humanity refused to yield. In the ruins of London, Dr. Amelia Frost, a brilliant physicist, gathered a group of survivors in the hardened bunkers beneath the Natural History Museum. "We're not beaten yet," she told them, her eyes gleaming with a fierce intelligence. "Every alien race must have a biology, a chemistry. If we can understand it, we can fight it." Half a world away, in the dense jungles of Brazil, Captain João Silva led a ragtag group of soldiers and civilians deep into the Amazon. "They may control the skies," he said, matchsheet in hand as he carved a path through the undergrowth. "But down here in the green hell, this is our turf." And in the vast deserts of Australia, Aboriginal elder Marley began to gather the scattered tribes. "Our people have survived on this land for 60,000 years, she said, her voice carrying the weight of ancient wisdom. "We will survive this too. The dream time has prepared us for such a time as this." These isolated pockets of resistance, unknown to each other, shared a common thread, an unbreakable human spirit. Above it all, the Zorthian ships hung in the sky, silent sentinels over a conquered world. But their victory was incomplete. Humanity, battered and broken, was down but not out. In orbit, amidst the debris of Earth's shattered satellite network, something stirred. The IS Defender, presumed destroyed, drifted in the void. Inside its ruined hull, in a sealed compartment miraculously intact, Commander Sarah Chen opened her eyes. She was alive, and where there's life, there's hope. Chen pulled herself to a still-functioning console, wincing at her injuries. The ship was dead, but its emergency beacon was still transmitting on a frequency the Zorthians hadn't yet jammed. With bloody fingers, she tapped out a message in Morse code, an ancient system the aliens were unlikely to decipher quickly. "Earth Fallon. Resistance continues. Stay strong. Stay hidden. We will play all evil." The message beamed out, a whisper of defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. On the surface, in hidden bunkers and makeshift shelters, survivors' equipment picked up the faint signal. Hope, that most human of emotions, began to flicker anew. In the depths of the Zorthian flagship, the alien commander, Hexlivol, received reports of continued human resistance. Its sensory cluster pulsed with what might have been irritation. "Impossible," Hexlivol communicated to its subordinates. "No species has ever resisted us for this long. Increase the pressure. Scour every corner of this world. The humans must be made to understand the futility of their defiance." But Hexlivol, for all its advanced technology and military might, had made a crucial mistake. It had underestimated the sheer, stubborn tenacity of the human race. In the coming days, as the Zorthian forces began their ground invasion, they would learn a harsh lesson. Humanity, with its back against the wall, was capable of terrible and wonderful things. The asymmetrical war for Earth was about to begin in earnest, and despite the overwhelming odds, despite the devastation and the losses, a spark of hope remained. For as long as one human drew breath, the fight would continue. The Zorthians thought they had conquered a planet. In reality, they had awakened a sleeping giant. The fall of Earth was not the end, it was only the beginning. The resistance. In the months that followed Earth's fall, humanity's resilience was tested like never before. The Zorthian occupation was brutal and efficient, their technology so advanced it seemed like magic to human eyes. But where the aliens expected to find a broken species ready for subjugation, they instead encountered a tenacious foe that refused to surrender. Dr. Amelia Frost's team in London made the first breakthrough. Holed up in their underground lab, they managed to salvage a piece of Zorthian technology from a downed scout ship. "Look at this," Amelia said, her voice filled with excitement despite the dire circumstances. She held up a small crystalline object that pulsed with an inner light. "It's not just a power source. I think it's alive." Her colleague, Dr. Rahul Patel, leaned in for a closer look. Bioluminescent alien tech. That's incredible. But how does it work? Amelia's eyes gleamed. That's what we're going to find out. And when we do, we'll have our first real advantage. Halfway across the world, in the Amazon rainforest, Captain Joe Silva's guerrilla force was learning to fight an enemy that outmatched them in every conventional way. We can't beat them head-on, Joe explained to his ragtag group of soldiers and civilians, but we can make them bleed for every inch of this jungle. They developed new tactics, using the dense foliage to their advantage. Traps made of vines and local plants, treated with toxins that could eat through even Zorthian armor. Ambushes that struck like lightning and disappeared just as quickly into the green depths of the forest. In Australia, Mali's network of tribes had gone to ground, using ancient songlines and hidden water sources to stay one step ahead of the alien patrols. They became the eyes and ears of the resistance, that intimate knowledge of the land allowing them to move unseen across vast distances. The land remembers, Mali would say, her weathered face serene, even in the face of apocalypse. It has faced invaders before, it will help us face these ones too. But it was in the ruins of what was once Silicon Valley that the tide truly began to turn. A group of surviving tech geniuses, led by the enigmatic hacker known only as Ghost, had set up a hidden base in the abandoned tunnels of an old subway system. Ghost, a non-binary individual with a shock of blue hair and fingers that danced across keyboards like lightning, had made it their mission to crack the Zorthian communication networks. Their tech is advanced, yeah, Ghost said to their team, lines of alien code reflecting in their augmented reality glasses. But at its core, it's still data, and data can be hacked. Day and night, they worked tirelessly, piecing together the alien language, both spoken and digital. It was Ghost who first intercepted and decrypted the message that would change everything. "Holy shit," they whispered, eyes wide. "Guys, you need to see this." The message, once decoded, revealed a startling truth. The Zorthians were not the unstoppable force they appeared to be. They were stretched thin, their vast empire requiring constant resources to maintain. Earth was supposed to be an easy conquest, a quick addition to their holdings. The continued resistance was causing concern among the Zorthian High Command. As this information spread through the global resistance network, a new sense of purpose ignited. Humanity had been on the defensive, merely trying to survive. Now they had a glimmer of hope. A chance, however small, to take the fight back to the invaders. In orbit, Commander Sarah Chen had managed to restore minimal life support to a small section of the ISS Defender. She'd been monitoring the sporadic communications from Earth, piecing together the larger picture of the resistance. "We're not alone up here," she murmured to herself, watching the movements of the Zorthian ships. Years of space observation had trained her eye to spot patterns, and something about the alien fleet's movements seemed off. Using the Defender's remaining power, she began to track and analyze the Zorthian ships' patrol routes. Slowly, a realization dawned on her. There were gaps in their coverage, small windows where parts of Earth were unobserved. With trembling hands, she began to compose a message to the surface. If she was right, this could be the key to coordinating a global counteroffensive. Back on Earth, the various resistance groups were beginning to link up, sharing information and resources. Dr. Frost's team had made significant progress in understanding Zorthian biotechnology. Captain Silva's guerrilla tactics were being adapted for urban warfare in the ruins of major cities. Mali's network had established a planet-wide early warning system for Zorthian troop movements. And Ghost, their fingers flying over holographic keyboards, was getting closer every day to accessing the Zorthian battlenet. It was Ghost who received Commander Chen's message, the faint signal nearly lost in the constant chatter of alien communications. "Well, I'll be damned," Ghost said, a rare smile crossing their face. "Looks like we've got an angel watching over us after all." The message was quickly disseminated to resistance cells worldwide. For the first time since the invasion, humanity had a cohesive strategy. They knew when and where to strike, how to coordinate their attacks for maximum impact. The Zorthians, confident in their superiority, never saw it coming. In a single day, resistance fighters struck Zorthian outposts and patrols in over 100 locations globally. Alien equipment was sabotaged, supply lines disrupted, and for the first time, Zorthian soldiers were taken prisoner. On board the Zorthian flagship, Haxleyvol received the reports with increasing agitation. Its sensory cluster pulsed rapidly, a sign of extreme distress in its species. Impossible, it communicated to its subordinates. How are these primitives coordinating on such a scale? Find the source of their intelligence. Crush this insurgency now. But it was too late. The spark of resistance had become a wildfire, spreading faster than the Zorthians could contain it. In hidden bases and secret bunkers around the world, humans allowed themselves to feel something they hadn't felt in months: triumph. It was small, yes. The Zorthians still held overwhelming military superiority. But for the first time, the invaders were on the back foot. As news of the successful global strikes spread, more and more humans emerged from hiding, ready to join the fight. The Zorthians had sought to break humanity's spirit. Instead, they had forged it into something stronger than ever before. The resistance was no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting to take back their world. And deep in the Amazon, in a hidden clearing where resistance leaders had gathered to plan their next move, Captain João Silva summed up the new spirit of humanity with 4 simple words. Now we hunt them. The tide was turning. The real war for Earth was about to begin. The turning point. As the human resistance gained momentum, the Zorthian occupation forces found themselves in an unfamiliar position, on the defensive. Haxleyvol, the alien commander, was facing increasing pressure from the Zorthian High Command to quell the human uprising quickly and decisively. But the humans, led by their diverse group of unexpected heroes, were proving to be far more adaptable and resourceful than anyone could have anticipated. Dr. Amelia Frost's team in London had made a groundbreaking discovery. The crystalline biotechnology they'd salvaged from the downed Zorthian scout ship wasn't just a power source, it was a key component of the aliens' neural network. It's not just technology, Amelia explained to a gathering of resistance leaders, her eyes alight with the thrill of scientific breakthrough. It's a symbiosis between organic and inorganic components. The Zorthians aren't just using their technology, they're intimately connected to it. Dr. Rahul Patel picked up where she left off, and that connection, it's their greatest strength, but also potentially their greatest weakness, if we can disrupt it. The implications were staggering. For the first time, humanity had identified a potential Achilles heel in the seemingly invincible Zorthian war machine. Meanwhile, Ghost and their team of hackers had been making steady progress in infiltrating the Zorthian battlenet. Late one night, as a resistance base hummed with activity, Ghost's triumphant shout echoed through the tunnels. "We're in. Holy shit, we're actually in their system." The screens around them lit up with streams of alien data, slowly being translated into human-readable format. As the information poured in, Ghost's expression shifted from elation to shock. "Guys," they said, their voice uncharacteristically somber, "you need to see this. The Zorthians, they're not as united as we thought. There's infighting, political factions. This invasion, it's not going well for them either." The revelation spread through the resistance like wildfire. The Zorthians, who had seemed like an unstoppable monolithic force, were facing their own internal struggles. It was a psychological turning point for many humans. The invaders were fallible after all. In Australia, Marley's network had expanded beyond anyone's wildest expectations. What started as a loose coalition of Aboriginal tribes had grown into a continent-spanning web of informants, scouts, and guerrilla fighters. They moved like ghosts across the vast, arid landscape, striking Zorthian outposts and disappearing before retaliation could arrive. Marvi herself had become a symbol of resilience, her weathered face and quiet strength inspiring thousands to join the fight. "The land remembers," she would say, "and so must we. Every rock, every tree, every grain of sand, they are our allies in this war." Her words proved prophetic when her scouts discovered something extraordinary hidden in the depths of the outback, a massive Zorthian supply depot, cleverly camouflaged but unable to escape the keen eyes of those who truly knew the land. In orbit, Commander Sarah Chen had turned the crippled ISS Defender into a makeshift command center. Using the ship's remaining systems and her unparalleled view of Earth, she coordinated resistance activities across the globe, exploiting the gaps in Zorthian coverage she had identified. But Chen knew they needed more than just good intel and guerrilla tactics. They needed a game-changer. That game-changer came in the form of an unlikely alliance between Dr. Frost's team and Ghost's hackers. Combining their knowledge of Zorthian biotechnology and the newly acquired access to the alien battlenet, they began work on a virus, not a biological one, but a hybrid creation that could infect both the organic and inorganic components of Zorthian systems. The development process was grueling, with countless setbacks and near misses as Zorthian counterintelligence came close to discovering their work. But finally, after weeks of non-stop effort, they had a prototype. "We're calling it Pandora," Ghost announced to the assembled resistance leaders, their usual bravado tempered by the gravity of the moment. Once unleashed, it will spread through their entire network, disrupting their neural links and leaving them vulnerable. Dr. Frost nodded, adding, "But we'll only have one shot at this. The moment we deploy Pandora, the Zorthians will begin developing countermeasures. Whatever we do with this opportunity, it has to count." The resistance leaders debated long into the night. The Pandora virus was their best chance at turning the tide, but using it prematurely or without proper preparation could squander their only advantage. Finally, a plan began to take shape. They would coordinate a global offensive, striking at key Zorthian installations simultaneously across the planet. At the height of the battle, when the aliens were fully engaged and their networks at peak activity, they would deploy Pandora. As the strategy was disseminated to resistance cells worldwide, a palpable sense of anticipation built. This was the moment they had been fighting for, the chance to take back their world. In the Amazon, Captain Joe Silva prepared his forces, their weapons now augmented with salvaged Zorthian tech. "Remember," he told his troops, "we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human who has suffered, for every life lost. We're fighting for Earth itself." Across the globe, similar scenes played out. In the ruins of cities, in dense forests, in underground bunkers, humanity steeled itself for the battle to come. On the eve of the offensive, Commander Chen broadcast a message from the Defender to every resistance fighter on Earth. "Tomorrow, we take the fight to the enemy. Tomorrow, we show the Zorthians, and ourselves, what humanity is truly capable of. It has been the greatest honor of my life to fight alongside all of you. Whatever happens, remember this: Earth is our home, and we will never ever stop fighting for it." As the message played out, humans around the world looked to the skies. The Zorthian ships still loomed overhead, dark and imposing. But now, for the first time since the invasion began, those ships didn't inspire fear. They inspired determination. In the Zorthian flagship, Axleval received reports of increased human activity with growing concern. Something was coming, it could feel it. But the true scale of what humanity had planned was beyond even its worst fears. As the Earth turned and a new day dawned, the greatest battle in human history was about to begin. The Zorthians were about to learn a harsh lesson. Never underestimate the tenacity, creativity, and sheer will of a united human race. The turning point had arrived, and with it, the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The counterattack. The day of humanity's great counteroffensive dawned with an eerie calm. Across the globe, resistance fighters made their final preparations, a mix of determination and trepidation etched on their faces. This was the moment they had been fighting for, the culmination of months of sacrifice, ingenuity, and unwavering hope. In London, Dr. Amelia Frost and her team put the finishing touches on the Pandora virus. "Remember," she told her colleagues, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility, "timing is everything. We can't deploy Pandora until the Zorthian network activity peaks." Halfway across the world, in their subterranean base, Ghost's fingers flew across holographic keyboards, monitoring the alien battlenet. Ready on this end, they reported, a rare note of tension in their usually carefree voice, just waiting for the signal. The attack began at dawn. In the Amazon, Captain Joe Silva led the charge against a major Zorthian ground base. His guerrilla forces, armed with a mix of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien tech, struck from all sides. The jungle itself seemed to come alive, concealing human fighters one moment and entangling alien defenders the next. For Earth, Joe roared as he personally led a team to breach the base's defenses. The sound of battle, human war cries mixed with the strange, discordant sounds of Zorthian weapons, echoed through the rainforest. Simultaneously, in the Australian outback, Marley's network sprang into action. The massive Zorthian supply depot they had discovered became the target of a meticulously planned raid. Aboriginal warriors, their bodies painted with ancient symbols of protection, moved like shadows across the desert landscape. Marley herself stood on a rocky outcropping, coordinating the attack. "The land fights with us," she intoned, her voice carrying to her people on the wind. "Every grain of sand, every rock, every creature, they are our allies today." As if in response to her words, a massive dust storm kicked up, blinding the Zorthian defenders and allowing the human forces to penetrate deep into the alien facility. Across the planet, similar scenes played out. In the ruins of New York, resistance fighters emerged from the subway tunnels to ambush Zorthian patrols. In the mountains of Tibet, monks who had sworn vows of peace now fought with a ferocity that shocked even their alien opponents. Off the coast of Japan, a cobbled-together fleet of fishing boats and salvaged naval vessels engaged a Zorthian sea platform in a David versus Goliath battle. From her vantage point in orbit, Commander Sarah Chen coordinated it all. The ISS Defender, once a symbol of humanity's peaceful exploration of space, had become a war room. Chen's voice, calm and authoritative, guided the global assault. "Sierra Team, watch your flank. Zulu Squad, you have an opening. Push forward now. Tango Group, fall back and regroup at Checkpoint Delta." As the battles raged on the ground, Chen noticed something unusual in the Zorthian fleet movements. The alien ships, usually so coordinated, were showing signs of confusion. Some moved to engage the human forces, while others held position, as if unsure how to respond to such a widespread attack. "Ghost," Chen called over the secure channel, "are you seeing this? The Zorthian command structure seems to be faltering." In their underground base, Ghost grinned. "Oh, I'm seeing it all right. And it's not just confusion. Their network traffic is spiking. They're trying to coordinate their response, but there's too much data flowing. I think this might be our chance." Chen made a split-second decision. "Dr. Frost, are you ready?" Amelia's voice came back, tense but determined. "Pandora is primed and ready. On your command, Commander." Chen took a deep breath. This was the moment that would decide the fate of humanity. Deploy Pandora, now. With a few keystrokes, Ghost unleashed the virus into the Zorthian battlenet. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a wave-gathering force, the effects began to ripple across the alien fleet. Zorthian ships suddenly lost power, drifting aimlessly in orbit. On the ground, alien soldiers stumbled, their neural links to their advanced weapons suddenly severed. The massive walker tanks that had been the scourge of human cities toppled over, their pilots disoriented and unable to control the complex machinery. In the Zorthian flagship, Axivol's sensory cluster pulsed with panic and pain. The virus wasn't just disrupting their technology, it was attacking the very core of their hybrid biology. What is happening? It screeched in its native tongue, its usual composure shattered. How can these primitives? Its words were cut off as another wave of the virus surged through the ship's systems. As reports of Zorthian disarray flooded in, the human resistance pressed their advantage. Joo's forces in the Amazon overwhelmed the alien base, capturing critical technology and taking the first Zorthian prisoners of the war. In Australia, Mali's warriors seized control of the supply depot, securing enough resources to supply the resistance for months. Around the world, humans who had been in hiding emerged to join the fight. The sight of faltering alien ships and stumbling Zorthian soldiers ignited a fierce hope in even the most downtrodden. But the Zorthians were not defeated yet. As the initial shock of Pandora wore off, pockets of alien resistance began to form. Cut off from their central command and advanced tech, the Zorthians fell back on more primitive but still formidable weapons. The battles that had started at dawn raged on into the night. Streets that had been silent for months now echoed with the sounds of combat. The sky, usually dominated by the imposing bulk of Zorthian ships, now lit up with explosions as disabled alien vessels fell from orbit. As the first day of the great counteroffensive drew to a close, humanity had achieved what once seemed impossible. They had the Zorthians on the run. But the war was far from over. The Zorthian Empire spanned galaxies, and Earth was just one small planet in their vast holdings. Even as humans celebrated their victories, they knew that a greater challenge lay ahead. In orbit, Commander Chen watched the unfolding battle with a mix of pride and apprehension. They had won a critical victory, but at what cost? And how would the Zorthians respond? As if in answer to her unspoken question, long-range sensors picked up a massive energy signature at the edge of the solar system. Something big was coming. Chen's blood ran cold as she realized the truth. What they had faced so far was just the occupation force. The full might of the Zorthian armada was on its way. The real battle for Earth was about to begin. The reckoning. The euphoria of humanity's initial victory was short-lived. As Commander Sarah Chen's warning about the approaching Zorthian armada spread, a grim reality set in. The war was far from over. In fact, the true test of humanity's resolve was only just beginning. In the days following the great counteroffensive, Earth became a hive of feverish activity. Every scrap of captured Zorthian technology was analyzed, every alien prisoner interrogated. Humanity knew it was in a race against time. Dr. Amelia Frost and her team worked around the clock to improve the Pandora virus. "We caught them by surprise once," she explained to the War Council, her eyes sunken from lack of sleep. "We won't have that advantage again. We need to make Pandora more resilient, more adaptive." Ghost and the hacker collective dug deeper into the alien battlenet, searching for any advantage. "There's something here," Ghost muttered, poring over streams of alien data. "Some kind of failsafe or backup system, if we can just crack it." In the reclaimed cities and countryside of Earth, every able-bodied person joined in the preparations. Factories that had lain dormant since the invasion now hummed with activity, producing weapons that merged human innovation with salvaged alien tech. Farmers worked tirelessly to stockpile food, knowing that the coming battle might last months or even years. Captain Joe Silva, now a general coordinating global ground forces, oversaw the construction of defensive positions. "We've taken back our world," he told his troops as they fortified the ruins of Rio de Janeiro. "Now we have to be ready to defend it with everything we've got." Mali's network had expanded beyond Australia, linking up with indigenous peoples across the globe. Their intimate knowledge of Earth's most remote regions proved invaluable in establishing hidden supply caches and fallback positions. "The land will shelter us," Mali assured the resistance leaders. "As it always has, as it always will." In orbit, the crippled ISS Defender had become the nucleus of humanity's fledgling space fleet. Commander Chen supervised as engineers and pilots trained frantically on captured Zorthian shuttles and fighters. "We might not be able to match them ship for ship," Chen said, watching a practice dogfight between Earth pilots and alien craft, "but we can make damn sure they pay for every inch of our sky." As the days turned to weeks, the tension mounted. Long-range sensors tracked the approach of the Zorthian Armada, a fleet so vast it defied comprehension. Sleeper cells of aliens left behind on Earth began to activate, launching desperate attacks on human positions. Then, on a crisp autumn morning, it began. The sky lit up with the fire of 1,000 suns as the Zorthian Armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Ships that dwarfed cities appeared in low Earth orbit, their weapons already charging. But humanity was ready. As the first salvos of alien energy weapons lanced down from the sky, they met a networked shield system reverse-engineered from captured Zorthian tech. The shields held, if only barely. Chen's voice crackled over global communications. "All units engage as planned. For Earth." The battle that followed would be remembered for generations as the greatest in human history. Swarms of fighter craft, piloted by the best Earth had to offer, rose to meet the Zorthian onslaught. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but their ferocity and unconventional tactics caught the aliens off guard. On the ground, as Zorthian dropships descended, they were met with a fierce resistance. Every street, every building, every mountain and forest had been turned into a fortress. Zhou led the defense of the Americas, his guerrilla tactics now applied on a continental scale. In Europe, a coalition of nations held the line against waves of alien troops. Africa's vast savannas became killing grounds where Zorthian walkers were lured into ambushes and destroyed. Mali's hidden network proved its worth, striking at Zorthian supply lines and communication hubs. The aliens found themselves fighting not just armies, but the very planet itself. Dust storms in the Sahara blinded their senses. Monsoon rains in Southeast Asia bogged down their heavy equipment. Volcanic eruptions in the Pacific Ring of Fire disrupted their orbital bombardments. In their underground base, Ghost and their team launched a digital blitzkrieg. Improved versions of the Pandora virus wreaked havoc on Zorthian systems, turning their own ships and weapons against them. "You want Earth?" Ghost snarled as they unleashed a particularly nasty piece of code. "Here, choke on it." But the Zorthians were not so easily defeated. Their numbers seemed endless, their technology still far beyond humanity's reach. For every alien ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. For every Zorthian soldier fallen, a dozen more teleported to the surface. The battle raged for days, then weeks. Cities were reduced to rubble, continents scarred by weapons that defied description. The death toll on both sides mounted to staggering numbers. Yet humanity refused to yield. Every loss, every setback only seemed to steel their resolve. Humans who had cowered in fear of the aliens now stood tall, fighting with a determination that shocked even the Zorthians. In the Zorthian flagship, Axivol watched the unfolding chaos with growing disbelief. How? It demanded of its subordinates. How are they still fighting? By all logic, they should have surrendered by now. The answer came not from its officers, but from an unexpected source. Dr. Amelia Frost, captured during a daring raid on a Zorthian ground base, was brought before Axivol. Battered but unbowed, she looked the alien commander in its sensory cluster and said, "You still don't understand, do you? We will never surrender. This is our home, and we will fight for it until the last of us falls." In that moment, something changed in Axivol. For the first time, it truly grasped the nature of the species it had so gravely underestimated. As the battle entered its 2nd month, with both sides nearing exhaustion, a signal went out from the Zorthian flagship. A ceasefire was called. In the ruins of the United Nations headquarters in New York, representatives of humanity met with the Zorthian High Command. The negotiations were tense, the distrust on both sides palpable. But in the end, an agreement was reached. The Zorthians, their forces depleted and their confidence shaken, agreed to withdraw from Earth and its solar system. In return, humanity promised not to use the technology they had acquired to seek revenge against the Zorthian Empire. As the alien ships began to retreat, a cheer went up from every corner of the globe. Humanity had done the impossible. They had faced extinction and emerged victorious. In the aftermath, as the work of rebuilding began, the leaders of the resistance reflected on all that had transpired. "We've won our freedom," Joe said, looking out over the scared but heaving landscape of his beloved Amazon. "But more than that, we've won our future." Marley nodded, her weathered face serene. "The land remembers, and now so shall we. This trial has forged us into something stronger, something unbreakable." Ghost, emerging from their underground bunker for the first time in months, squinted at the sunlight. "Well," they said with a wry smile, "I guess we showed the galaxy not to mess with the humans, huh?" And in orbit, aboard the battered but still floating ISS Defender, Commander Sarah Chen looked down at the blue marble of Earth. "We did it," she whispered, tears floating in the zero gravity. "We really did it." As news of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy, other species took notice. The planet that had been seen as a backwater, its inhabitants as primitive newcomers to the galactic stage, was now spoken of with a mixture of awe and fear. Humanity had faced the greatest threat in its history and emerged not just surviving, but triumphant. They had proven themselves adaptable, tenacious, and capable of feats that defied explanation. The message to the galaxy was clear. Earth was not to be trifled with. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as a force to be reckoned with. A species that, when pushed to the brink, would redefine the very limits of possibility. The Zorthian invasion, meant to be a simple conquest, had instead unleashed something unprecedented onto the galactic stage. Humanity was awake, united, and ready to shape its own destiny among the stars. The story of Earth's resistance would be told and retold across 1,000 worlds. But for those who lived it, who fought and bled and persevered, no tale could truly capture the magnitude of what they had achieved. They had faced the darkness and emerged into the light. They had stared into the abyss of extinction and rolled their defiance. They had proven, once and for all, the unbreakable spirit of humanity. And as the sun rose on a free Earth, its people looked to the stars not with fear, but with anticipation. The greatest adventure in human history was just beginning.